turning 250, and it's time to rock out with our forefathers. American-made, battle-ready style for true patriots. Whether you're marching in the parade, grilling in the backyard, or raising a toast to liberty, do it in the gear that screams freedom. Celebrate 250 years of USA in style. Wear your American pride loud. Trendjackers.etsy.com. Grab yours before the fireworks. America's turning 250, and it's time to rock out with our forefathers. American-made, battle-ready style for true patriots. Whether you're marching in the parade, grilling in the backyard, or raising a toast to liberty, do it in the gear that screams freedom. Celebrate 250.
From Governor's Comedy Club in Levittown, this is Sportsbash, presented by TicketBash.com. TicketBash.com, where memories are made affordable and where you'll never pay a service fee. Sportsbash is also presented by the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund, a group of like-minded individuals trying to raise awareness to our future generations of all possibilities of success other than just college. For more information, visit www.lookwhomadeit.org. Well, hi again, everyone. I'm Peter Schwartz. Happy Thursday, everyone. The weather is getting a little bit better, although I think we're supposed to get some snow over the weekend. What else is new? But it seems like the weather is starting to get a little warmer, so hopefully the snow's not too bad over the weekend. But in any event, hope you're having a great Thursday. 516-465-3990 is the number to call, and we've got another really good show for you today. We're going to talk a little Jets and Giants coming up at around 1:20, when I'll be joined by Newsday NFL columnist Tom Rock. We'll talk Jets, Giants, NFL offseason with him. That's coming up at 1:20. Then at 1:40, we'll have a little fun with this one. University of Wisconsin broadcaster Joey Bonadonna will join us. Now, why are we having him on? Well, he's the hockey announcer for Wisconsin, and Wisconsin happens to have a couple of Islanders prospects, draft picks on that team, including Quinn Finley, who recently had an overtime goal and a highly touted prospect with the Islanders, and we'll talk to Joey about that. But also, Joey, like myself, is going to be a broadcaster for the Indoor Football League this season. He has already been with the Green Bay Blizzard, so we'll talk to Joey about the Islander prospects at Wisconsin. We'll also touch on the upcoming IFL season with him. And, of course, we'll have our usual suspects on the show. What's hot at TicketBash.com, the Sportsbash Media poll question of the day, and we'll check out the Coach's Collectibles item of the week. It's time for the Sports Bash Flash. It's presented by the Marty Lyons Foundation, granting wishes for 43 years. For more information, visit martylionsfoundation.org. At the Winter Olympics, the women's gold medal game getting underway as the United States takes on Canada. Yesterday, the USA men's team defeated Sweden 2-1 in overtime. The USA will face Slovakia in one semifinal on Friday. Canada defeated Czechia 4-3 in overtime yesterday. They'll meet Finland in the other semifinal. By the way, both of those games yesterday were just ridiculously good. I mean, if you're not a hockey fan, and you watch those two games yesterday, and hockey still doesn't do it for you, well, I'm sorry. There's help for that. I mean, you couldn't have asked for two better games. Even, my mom, I have to give my mother credit, and she lives in Florida, and she watches the show all the time. For my mother, who was never really a sports aficionado, she has picked up some things along the way. And especially with Bradley playing college football, she has made a legitimate effort to understand football a little bit more, and hockey as well. I mean, I grew up during the Islanders Stanley Cup dynasty, so she had a little bit of knowledge about hockey, but she'll text me with, "Oh, that was a really nice goal," or something like that. So my mother, if she sat and watched those two games yesterday, she would be like, "I can't wait to watch the next game." If you watched those two games yesterday and said, still hockey's not for me, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry for you. But in any event, hopefully we'll have a United States-Canada final on Sunday morning at 8 o'clock. That's what we're all hoping for, but still one more game for each team to get to that point. College basketball, St. John's continues to roll. They won their 12th straight game. They beat Marquette 76-70. The Red Storm improving to 21-5. They take over the lead in the Big East. Remember at the beginning of the year when St. John's was struggling? And remember when Rick Pitino even said before the season started, this is going to be a brand new look team. They have only 4 or 5 players that came back from last year's team. And it was going to take a while for this team to get good and be ready for the Big East tournament and subsequently the NCAA tournament. Well, ta-da, here we are. 12 straight wins. They're now the number 1 team in the Big East, and they are looking like a legitimate tournament contender as we head towards March Madness, coming up very, very soon. So congratulations to the Red Storm. The Major League Baseball Players Association unanimously elected Bruce Meyer interim executive director after the resignation of Tony Clark. The CBA expires December 1st. Of course, we're heading towards Armageddon after this season in Major League Baseball. And I don't want to get too much into this whole Tony Clark thing, but if you don't know the news by now, Tony Clark resigned basically under pressure the other day. We had talked about it on the show Tuesday. I mentioned that he resigned. At the time that he resigned, we didn't know what the backstory was to that. But as it turns out, the Players Association launched an investigation into Tony Clark and found that he had had an inappropriate relationship with his sister-in-law, who was working for the Players Association. And I mean, I don't curse on the show very often, but I'm going to do it here. And Tony's bracing for himself. There's a saying in life, you don't shit where you eat, right? I mean, Tony, what are you doing? What are you doing? I mean, I wasn't talking about you, Tony.
I got nervous.
Oh, yeah. No, we're talking about Tony Clark, not Tony Walker. Tony Walker, my outstanding producer and the host of the Knock 'em Dead comedy show, 11 to 12:30 weekdays. No, what are we doing, Tony, meaning Tony Clark, like to have an inappropriate relationship with your sister-in-law. And it brought up some memories of, for those who don't know the story, Martin Brodeur, the great Devils goalie, 3-time Stanley Cup winner with the Devils, Hockey Hall of Famer. There was a point where he had entered into an extramarital affair with his sister-in-law. And I can't remember what I had for breakfast. No, it was a muffin, I think, this morning. I remember this. I covered Game 7 of the 2003 Stanley Cup Final, Devils and Anaheim. And I remember going down to the bowels of the Meadowlands Arena for the post-game interview, access and everything. And into the press conference, as Martin Brodeur is approaching the podium, walks this woman. And I really didn't know the whole gist of the story at that point. But someone said to me, could you believe the gall of her to show up for this? And I said, who is that? That's his sister-in-law who he's having an affair with. So that was brought up yesterday when everybody on sports radio and stuff was talking about Tony Clark. I mean, come on, man. Just really? And I covered Tony Clark, not like his sister-in-law, but I covered Tony Clark when he played for the Mets and the Yankees. I always found him to be a gentleman, and you don't get the job as executive director of the Players Association for not being an upstanding person. So when I heard that news yesterday, I was absolutely stunned and floored. But again, we are heading towards Armageddon in Major League Baseball with the work stoppage looming after the season. Tonight, the Knicks host the Pistons while the Nets are in Cleveland, and that's what's happening. Sportsbash Flash presented by the Marty Lyons Foundation. I do want to talk about both USA hockey teams to start the show today. And again, the American women are just about to get underway. I believe 1:10 as we tape the show or do the show live at 1 o'clock. 1:10 Eastern time is when the game starts between the United States and Canada. And here's the first thing I wanted to talk about when it came to the Olympics, and both American teams were very proud of them for doing what they do in the Olympics here. But I'm a little disappointed in NBC. The network that you can watch the Olympics on, whether it's on NBC or USA Network, Peacock, all the places that they put the various sports on. Yesterday, that USA game that went into overtime was, I think it was the first American game during the Olympics that was on NBC. Every other game has been on USA Network, which is fine. If you have cable, you have USA Network. Not a big deal, but you get to the medal round, and these games should be on NBC. I mean, they're on with the time difference. It's on during the day. It's not going to cut into your primetime stuff. So I think when you get to the medal round, you put these games on NBC. And the American game yesterday was on NBC. The Canadian game was on USA Network. Fine, no problem. And I believe on Saturday, I assume if the men, the men's are going to play on Friday, that game will be on NBC, and the final is on Sunday on NBC. Today's women's gold medal game is on USA Network and Peacock. And I'm disappointed because, look, again, it no matter to me, and I think a lot of people, because most people I think in the world have cable TV or have access to watch the game, whether it's on USA or Peacock. So I don't think it prevents too many people from watching the game today. But I honestly thought we had come along enough with women's sports that they wouldn't get... It's the gold medal game. How do you slight the women and not put the women's gold medal game against their arch rivals, Canada? How does that game not get on NBC today? Maybe I'm missing something here, but I think the USA women's hockey team, I'm sure in Canada, whoever the broadcast, whether it's CBC or CTV, whatever it is, I'm sure that game is on network television in Canada today. That game should be on NBC today, not on USA. I mean, Peacock is fine. They simulcast things anyway. That game should have been on NBC today. I think these American women, with how hard they've worked and how far the sport of hockey has come with women in the country, you see the PWHL is doing great. We just had Casey O'Brien from the Sirens on the show last week. They're going to be playing a game in front of a sold-out crowd at Madison Square Garden in April. And if you remember, the USA team beat Canada in the preliminary round 5-0. So odds are the United States is going to come away with a win today over Canada. And again, stranger things have happened. You remember 1980, the USA men's team lost to the Soviet Union 10-3 at Madison Square Garden a week before the Olympics, and then shocked the world when they beat the Soviet Union in the medal round on their way to the gold medal. But I'm just going on assumption here for a second. How does that game not get on NBC today? I don't get it. I really don't. And I think the Olympics are supposed to be a sense of pride in this country. And I think even if you're not a hockey fan, if you're just a casual sports fan, if you're not even a sports fan at all, and you're watching the Olympics, and you see the American women are in the gold medal game against Canada, even if you don't like hockey, you're probably going to watch the game. And stick around long enough to see these women celebrate at the end and see the medal ceremony. These women have worked their asses off to get to this point, and you can't put that game on NBC? I don't get it. Maybe, again, if I'm missing something about it, I take full responsibility for it. But again, as not just a sports fan, but as a diehard hockey fan too, that game belongs on NBC. I'm deciding. That's my opinion. And that leads me into my next point about hockey in the Olympics. And people who know me and follow me know how I feel about this. I've talked about it on the show. I'm not a huge fan of the NHL players playing in the Olympics. Now, I have enjoyed this immensely. The hockey has been phenomenal. The American team has won in different ways in all of their games so far. The Canadian team, until yesterday, having to win in overtime, have been rolling through the tournament. And obviously we're hopefully heading towards USA and Canada Sunday morning for the gold medal. And if you watched the Four Nations face-off last year, you saw how great that hockey was. The hockey is phenomenal. I'm not saying that it's not great. I'm enjoying every minute of this. I really hope the United States finishes the job and then beats Canada in the final on Sunday. I really do. And then we can get back to regular NHL hockey on next week. But my point being is that, and again, maybe it's because of my age and I lived through the Miracle on Ice, but there's just something to me about the college kids playing the hockey and also, the other sports should really have amateurs. That's just the way I grew up. Like, I know other countries, like the Soviet Union obviously always sent professionals to the Olympics, but the United States, we always sent the kids. And even the 4 years after the Miracle on Ice, that 84 U.S. Olympic team, even though they didn't do very well at the Olympics, there were a ton of NHL players, including Pat LaFontaine, who went on to play for the Islanders. So I like watching the kids. This guy's going to play for the Islanders one day. That guy's from Long Island. He's property of Calgary, or that guy's going to play for the Rangers one day. I always like that about the Olympic hockey, and I think we've lost that with the NHL players playing in the Olympics. Now, professional hockey has always had an international tournament that has also been phenomenal. There used to be this thing called the Canada Cup. And the single greatest hockey game I've ever been to in my life, I was away at college in Buffalo. I went to Game 2 of the 1987 Canada Cup Finals between Canada and the Soviet Union. 6-5, Canada won in overtime. The single greatest hockey game I have ever been to in my life. And I was at Islanders-Rangers Game 5 in 84, the Anthony Beauvillier winner against the Lightning at the Coliseum a few years ago. I've been to some pretty good hockey games. And it's not even close. That game was the best. And it was the Canada Cup. And the Canada Cup turned into the World Cup of Hockey, which, by the way, is coming back in 2028. That should be the stage and the venue for the NHL players to play best on best in the world in hockey. The Olympics should be for the college kids, for the junior kids. And again, it's not going to take away from me one iota if the USA is standing on the podium on Sunday morning with the gold medals around their neck, or even the silver medals if they lose. Great tournament. I just think the NHL players should have their own competition like they're going to have in 2028. Make that their Olympics. Because I'll tell you right now, everyone's, the NHL is getting this great exposure in the Olympics. Yeah, I get it, but I'm going to tell you something right now. I don't think the NHL will sell one extra ticket based on the Olympics. Now, you want to tell me that Nike's going to sell a bunch of American jerseys and memorabilia and merch, and Bauer is the outfitter in Canada, and they're going to sell? Yes, they're going to make a mint off of it. Especially if one of those two countries winds up winning the gold medal, they're going to make a fortune. But the NHL is sending their players to the Olympics to get notoriety for the league, and I'm telling you right now, they're not going to sell one extra ticket because of the Olympics. And I'll discount all the NHL markets that sell out every game. It's the Rangers, it's the Blackhawks, it's the Flyers, in Canada, the Canadians and the Maple Leafs, the Flames, all the markets, and even the Islanders. I think the Islanders went into the Olympic break with 12 straight sellouts. And you know what puts people in the seats? A good team. And the Islanders have a good team this year, so people are going to the games. And keep in mind, the Islanders have two Olympians, Bo Horvat and Andre Palat. And the fact that those two guys are playing in the Olympics is not going to help the Islanders sell one more ticket in the second half of the season. The Islanders are going to sell tickets as long as they keep winning. And for the other markets in the NHL that don't sell out every single game, this Olympic tournament is not going to help one iota. NBC will get some ratings out of it. Again, the merch is going to sell. But the NHL's bottom line was to grow the sport of hockey based on the Olympics. I don't think that's happening because the casual people that will watch hockey for these 2 weeks, you're not. I don't think you're getting them as a regular hockey person because let's be honest, the hockey we've seen in the Olympics so far, I have news for everybody, and you're talking to the biggest hockey fan on the planet. What the NHL games are going to look like next week when the season resumes, not going to look anywhere close to what we're seeing right now and what we're going to see in the end of this tournament. So, again, maybe I'm just being an old, curmudgeon here about it. I'd rather see the kids in the Olympics. I'd rather the NHL put on the World Cup of Hockey or the Canada Cup, whatever they want to call it, every couple of years. If they want to do that, that's fine. I'd love it every single time they do it. I just don't think the NHL players should be in the Olympics. That's just my opinion. We're going to take a really quick break. When we come back here on the show, we're going to turn our attention to the NFL, the Jets, and the Giants. Tom Rock from Newsday, NFL columnist, is going to join us when we come back right after this. Hi, I'm Peter Schwartz.
And I'm Vinny Tickets.
We want to take a moment to talk about our fantastic sponsor, the Embassy Diner.
Embassy Diner has been a beloved staple in the restaurant industry for over 50 years. And the great thing about it is when you walk through the door, you're not a customer, you are family. Every visit promises to be filled with warmth, love, and respect.
And here's an extra treat. If you mention Sportsbash during your visit, you enjoy a free dessert on the Embassy Diner.
Come on down to the Embassy Diner, where great food and great company are always on the menu.
Visit the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage. Hi, I'm Peter Schwartz.
And I'm Vinny Tickets.
Welcome back to Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com. I'm Peter Schwartz. Welcome back to the program. Before we get to our first guest on the show, really quick, our Sports Bash Media poll question of the day presented by the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage. Every customer is considered family at the Embassy Diner. Mention Sports Bash, get a free dessert with your meal. We post a new question every Tuesday and Thursday on the Sports Bash Media X/Twitter page. Here is the question. Do you think there will be a 2027 Major League Baseball season? We have three answers for you. Yes, a full season. Yes, a shortened season, or no season at all. Tony, really quick.
Shortened season.
Shortened season. I'm going to go with no season at all. And it seems like shortened season was the leader in the clubhouse before the show started, and most people felt that way. The next one was no season at all, and very few people think there will be a full season next season. We'll switch from baseball now to football, and we'll welcome in our first guest on the show today. Does an outstanding job as the columnist, the NFL columnist for Newsday, longtime friend of mine. We actually, the first time we ever met was years ago when I was working for the New York Dragons of the Arena Football League, and he covered some of the games for Newsday, and he has certainly grown into a great NFL columnist for Newsday, my good friend Tom Rock. Tom, it's Peter. How are you?
Peter, how have you been? Yeah, I was just thinking about those days back at Nassau Coliseum when we were, chucking the ball around with the Dragons there.
Yes, we did. You were a halftime guest a number of times at the home game, so I always appreciated that. Those are some good times, and it's funny that things come full circle in life. Matt Nagy, who was a quarterback for the Dragons, and he got some starts while Aaron Garcia was away on a tryout with the San Francisco 49ers, and your cohort there at Newsday, Evan Barnes, just did a story about this. But Matt Nagy is back in town as the offensive coordinator of the New York Football Giants, so things do come full circle as a Dragon is now a Giant.
As soon as Nagy got hired, I said to Evan, I said, "You got to talk to Peter. Go get Peter."
Yep.
And I think you guys talked that afternoon.
Yes, and a wonderful story, and looking forward to having Matt back in the area. I was texting with him the other day, and hoping to get together once he gets settled in there in New Jersey. We'll start with the Giants. Sure. With you, and you spent some time as the Giants beat writer before becoming the columnist for the NFL for Newsday. And it was kind of a turbulent year. There was a coaching change, and now John Harbaugh takes over as the new head coach of the Giants. So, from your perspective, where do you think the Giants are now as the offseason progresses with the new head coach? And it just seems like it's a whole new ball game around the Giants facility now.
The sun will come out tomorrow, right, Peter? That's the song that they were singing all year, and son of a gun if it didn't come out in the middle of January when they got their guy there. Such a tough season. I mean, when you have a season where your interim head coach has to hire an interim defensive coordinator, that's just a crazy season for them to undergo. And some of it was coaching and mismanagement, but there was a lot of injuries too. Malik Neighbors went down, Cam Scatterbo went down. Thibodeau at the end wasn't playing. Dexter Lawrence never really quite seemed like he was being used correctly. There was a lot of stuff going on there, but I think that they felt like they had a lot of talent, and they just needed somebody to kind of galvanize all of that. And I mean, John Harbaugh is the galvanizer in chief of this league. I mean, he's the guy that if you want to come in and build a culture around, there's probably hardly anybody in this league that you would want to do it besides him.
And there's no question that he is the sheriff in town there at the Giants facility, because he also brought in Dawn Aponte, who was a former Jets executive years ago, went on to work for the NFL and the Miami Dolphins, and now she's with the Giants, and it seems like she is like the second in command behind John Harbaugh, and it kind of puts everybody questioning what the future of Joe Shane, the general manager, is going to be. There have been some reports that he is only responsible for scouting right now. So this is definitely a new look Giants organization with all roads going through John Harbaugh, with Dawn Aponte now on in the Giants front office.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear that part of the reason why you don't bring in John Harbaugh and say, okay, listen to this guy, right? So they brought him in to change things and to do things the way that he's been doing them for most of his 18-year career that's been successful and been regular playoff appearances and a Super Bowl champion and all the things. I don't have to tell you his resume. How everything else is going to fit. I think they're still trying to figure that out in terms of what's going to work where. My sense is that there's not a lot of really siloing going on there. There's a lot of they use the word collaboration a lot, but it seems like there's a lot going on where everybody's sort of still feeling it out and trying to figure out what their roles are going to be.
When you think about the history of the Giants, Tom, we're talking to Tom Rock, NFL columnist for Newsday. When you think about the history of the Giants, and obviously the Mara family has been involved for a very, very long time, and subsequently the Tisch family involved now as well. And I know that John Mara is going through his own, personal issues with his health. But I got to imagine it really took a lot to convince him and his family and the Tisch family to change the way that the Giants have operated when everything has always been, collaborative, to now put your trust in one person, a brand new person into the organization. How much do you think John Mara and Steve Tisch and the families had to agonize over whether or not to give all the keys to the castle to John Harbaugh?
I don't think billionaires agonize much, to be honest. That would be the answer to my question. I think that John Mara is more steeped in the history of the Giants than just about anyone, and he understands that the organization did things for 50 years and then changed, and that was when they hired a general manager for the first time in 1978, and they changed it, and it helped them, and it won, and they were able to adapt to the next 50 years, and then they went into another lull, which is what we're seeing now, and it's time to change again. And so I think that every once in a while, maybe every 50 years, you have to sort of have a big revolution in the way you think and the way you run an organization. And I think that that's right where the Giants are right now. There's no question that things have weighed on John for the last few years. The embarrassment of that 100th season celebration that was just petered out because of such poor football. And
was that when they gave away the free medium Pepsi to the fans?
Well, that was a couple of years ago.
That was a couple of years ago. Okay.
That was a couple of years ago. This was last year when they came out in their clown suits and played in that game and then got run off the field in it. They made some bad decisions, but like I said, I think that this is George Young too. Basically is what we're seeing, and if it works out as well as George Young 1 did, then I think it's going to be just fine for the Giants.
Last thing on the Giants, they have the 5th pick in the draft, and it's like any team that doesn't make the playoffs, they've got more than one hole on the team, and you wonder what direction they might go with that number 5. Do they stay there? Do they try to move up? Do they move back and get more picks? It's a fascinating scenario for the Giants and their fans. What happens with that 5th overall pick?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to come down to who makes it, right? Because like we talked about, who has the final decision. I think that there's a lot of people who say, "Oh, well, John Harbaugh, he likes to take the best player available, and that's probably Caleb Downs," and so they're going to do that, and that's what they did in Baltimore when they took who's the safety from Notre Dame. I can't think of his name.
I can't think of his name either.
Yeah. But anyway, that's what they did. And so that people saying, "Oh, well, they'll replicate that." But I mean, the Giants do have needs too. They need a cornerback. They need help at other places. It's going to be really interesting to see. They need a second. They may need a second wide receiver if Wandale walks out the door in free agency. So I think we'll have a better picture of where they'll go after free agency than before. It always fascinates me with this NFL calendar that we're so focused on the draft now because the combine is coming up. And it's like, well, we haven't even gotten to free agency. We don't even know who's going to be on these teams. So, these things play themselves out, and I think if you wait until the middle of March, you'll probably have a better idea of where the Giants are headed and what they're looking for in terms of their players.
Giant fans will be focused on the combine and to see how some of those prospects shake out, and also Jet fans will be paying very close attention to that as well. The Jets have the 2nd pick in the draft, and that is Jets history. They're never quite good enough to win the whole thing. They're never quite bad enough to get the right pick when there's only one quarterback available, and that's what's facing the Jets right now at number 2. Fernando Mendoza, in all likelihood, is going to go to the Raiders at number 1. Now the Jets have a decision to make with that number 2 pick. in the draft? Do they reach for a quarterback? Do they move back? There's so many things. It was so, when I mentioned before that the Giants had a turbulent season, I don't even know what you described the Jets season at, because there was a lot more turbulence than you could ever imagine. But it's an interesting scenario with the Jets with 2 first-round picks, including number 2, and a chance to really reshape the franchise in this draft.
Yeah, unlike the Giants, who kind of made a quick U-turn into the offseason and said, okay, we're gonna change and we're gonna bring this guy in, John Harbaugh, and he's gonna fix everything. There's been no fixer for the Jets this year. You know, they're still kind of the team that they were. In fact, they're probably a worse team than they were when the season ended, because who's going to be their running back? Who's going to they don't have a quarterback that you can build around.
I heard it might be you.
It might be Frank Reich. He's in the building right now.
I think Frank Reich needs to ask his buddy Boomer Esiason to be the quarterback.
They're in the building right now trying to put together an offense, and they don't even know who the quarterback's going to be. That's the definition of spinning your wheels and wasting your time. So, a lot of questions coming up for them. And in terms of the draft picks, you say don't reach for a quarterback. Next year's the quarterback year, but then how are you going to get through this season? Are you really going to just tank and just throw it all away? Because Aaron Glenn can't survive that.
No.
So then Aaron Glenn needs to win, but that doesn't help the Jets in any fashion if they're trying to get a quarterback. And then you have all these draft picks and that you got from trading Sauce and trading Quinnen. Those have to be earmarked for the quarterback. You need the quarterback. And whether it's if you want to trade and get somebody out of this world, listen, I threw out the name Joe Burrow.
I was just going to ask you that. There's been a lot of people that have brought up Joe Burrow's name. He might be unhappy there in Cincinnati. And certainly if there's a team that's got the draft capital to make a deal, it's the Jets. The question would be, would Joe Burrow want to come to the Jets?
Right. Well, Garrett Wilson's a pretty good reason to come to the Jets. Right, Frank Reich may be a pretty good reason to come to the Jets. There's some things there that could intrigue him. Not being in Cincinnati could be a reason to come to the Jets. There's a lot of reasons for people to decide that. Aaron Rodgers decided to come to the Jets. It didn't work out for either party, but we'll never really know what happened that first season before he got hurt.
No, not at all.
But to get back to those picks, that's when you traded away those guys, it was to get the quarterback and to draft the quarterback. And I think that they need to do that. They need to really not use those picks this year and say, oh, we're just going to get a linebacker, we're going to get a wide receiver, because you can get those any year. You need to find a quarterback. That's what the Giants did last year. They got their quarterback, and now they're looking, pretty good about them, feeling pretty good about themselves for the next foreseeable future.
And that could be the way the Jets go. Maybe they don't get the quarterback with the second pick. Maybe they get the quarterback later in the first round, like the Giants did with Jackson Dart, and they still go out and get a stopgap quarterback that can maybe start the season while the draft pick kind of learns the ropes a little bit. And that's what the Giants did, and they turned it over to Jackson Dart, and he played very well. That could be a scenario the Jets are looking at as well.
It would just be the Jets' luck that they do hire a stopgap quarterback, and he turns out to be really pretty good, not really good, just good enough to eliminate them from drafting his future.
Well, Kurt Warner had a winning record, and they benched him for Eli. I'm not sure that was the plan along the way, but it was very strange back then in 2004 when Kurt Warner started the season as the Giant quarterback, and he had a winning record, and they benched him for Eli. That's right.
And look what happened in Atlanta, right? With Kirk Cousins, right? He came in, and then they drafted a first-round pick too, and everybody's looking at each other saying, "Well, wait a second, which direction are we going in?" And they still may not know.
We're talking to Tom Rock. We got a couple minutes left with the outstanding NFL columnist for Newsday. How about the league in general now as we get into the off season? There's been some reports about some more international games. The Giants might be involved. It sounds like they're going to play a game in Germany next year, but a lot of international games. And it seems like the NFL continues to get more global and more global. And I don't know how you feel about it. I can't stand all these games overseas, but obviously the NFL's in a real good spot now, taking this game all over the world and being probably the most healthiest of all the the major pro sports leagues in the United States and North America.
Yeah, right before I came on, you were talking about baseball and whether or not they're going to have an abbreviated season next year or no season at all, and that's just not even something that's on the football radar. Their biggest concern is what streaming service is going to fork over billions of dollars to air these games. There's the logistics. I'm very curious to see how the logistics work out for a trip to Australia. I mean, going to London from New York to London is like going from New York to LA. It's kind of similar. It's not really a body changer, but going to Australia, going down to Brazil, those trips take a lot out of you. And I think when you talk to the players I think going to Paris, that's kind of cool. Mexico City is, relatively close by, but those other ones that are very far flung, I'm sure they're eyeing the China market and Japan pretty soon. So those ones are a little more, I'm a little more skeptical about, just in terms of the logistics. I think it's great to grow the sport there, but I'm not so sure that shipping two teams halfway around the world is the way to do that.
And last thing really quick, Tom, do you think we are going to get an 18-game regular season?
I did until 2 weeks ago when I went to the Super Bowl, and then everybody's saying that no, it's not going to happen. And even the NFL seemed to be backing down. When we talked to Roger Goodell about it, he said that's not something that we're definitely going to push for, and the unions was definitely against it. So my sense is that it's going to be 17 for a little while, unless there's some negotiations and bluffing and people start to trade off benefits and things like that for the games, and how that would work with an extra bye week and roster sizes and things like that. So there's a lot that would go into it, but I would say that 2 weeks ago I would have thought for sure within 2 or 3 years we'd be at 18 games. Now I'm not so sure. It might be a little longer than that.
Tom, I can't thank you enough for spending some time with me on the show today. It was great to catch up. And if they ever do have an introductory press conference for Matt Nagy, I'm going to be there to say hello to my good friend there. So hopefully I'll get the chance to see you at the Giants complex at some point.
Sounds good, Peter. Go Dragons.
Thanks. Tom Rock, NFL columnist for Newsday. I don't know if he was referring to the Dragons of old or the Dragons that was supposed to be last year, but in any event, I take that as a compliment and a chuckle there from Tom Rock from Newsday. It is time for What's Hot at TicketBash.com. Get the best seats at the best prices with no service fees at TicketBash.com. Tonight, the Knicks host the Pistons at the Garden. Saturday afternoon, the red-hot St. John's Red Storm hosting Creighton at the Garden. Yankees and Mets playing their Grapefruit League home openers. Saturday night, the Knicks will host the Rockets. And coming up next, I'll be joined by University of Wisconsin and IFL broadcaster Joey Bonadonna, and lots more to do as well when we come back here on Sports Bash right after this. We want to take a moment to talk about our fantastic sponsor, the Embassy Diner.
Embassy Diner has been a beloved staple in the restaurant industry for over 50 years. And the great thing about it is when you walk through the door, you're not a customer, you are family. Every visit promises to be filled with warmth, love, and respect.
And here's an extra treat. If you mention Sports Bash during your visit, you enjoy a free dessert on the Embassy Diner.
Come on down to the Embassy Diner, where great food and great company are always on the menu.
Visit the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage.
In 1982, the Marty Lyons Foundation began with a single heartfelt mission: to bring moments of joy and hope to critically ill children by granting wishes that make their dreams come true. Since that day, we have touched the lives of over 8,600 families, raising over $44 million to grant wishes that offer a beacon of light in their darkest times. These precious wishes cost an average of $7,100 each. And your support is crucial to our mission. Every donation, big or small, makes a difference. And with 84 cents of every dollar going directly to supporting our families, you can rest assured your support truly changes lives. The Marty Lyons Foundation operates 11 chapters in 14 states now, working tirelessly to reach as many children as we can. This dedication goes hand in hand with our commitment to transparency and accountability, earning us top ratings on Charity Navigator, Great Nonprofits, and Candid, which underscores our dedication to those we serve. The Marty Lyons Foundation grants wishes to children ages 3 to 17. And what really makes this foundation so special is our willingness to grant not only a first wish, but also consider a second wish to a child who continues to battle a life-threatening illness. We stand by these children, offering them hope and strength through the power of dreams, giving our children the courage to wish for more.
What's your purpose in life? Is your purpose in life to live in the big house and drive the nice car? No. Your purpose in this life is to make it a little bit better for those that follow and realize that we live for today to see a better tomorrow.
Visit MartyLyonsFoundation.org to learn more and get involved.
Saved by Hauser and dropped down for Luke Osborne. Outlet pass for Morrissey. A high stick. Chance here. Quinn Finley scores! Swamico, Wisconsin with the winner tonight. 6-5 the final.
Welcome back to Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com. I'm Peter Schwartz. That video you just saw is our next guest calling a terrific overtime goal scored a couple of weeks ago by Islanders prospect Quinn Finley for the University of Wisconsin. And I want to welcome in my next guest here on the show today. He does call University of Wisconsin hockey games, and I'm also going to be part of the same team with him coming up when the Indoor Football League 2026 season gets underway very, very soon. He's a play-by-play guy in that league, and I'm about to have my first season in the IFL, so looking forward to meeting in person at some point, but now welcoming to the show Joey Bonadonna. Joey, it's Peter. How are you, sir?
Peter, doing well. I appreciate your time and having me on here today.
Absolutely, and we just saw the clip of that Quinn Finley overtime goal from a couple of weeks ago, and he is certainly a player that Islander fans here on Long Island have their eyes on for somewhere down the road, third-round pick in 2022, and you've gotten a chance to see him blossom there with Wisconsin. Aside from that great goal that we just saw you call, what's he been like there at Wisconsin, and how close to the NHL do you think he is?
Yeah, so for Quinn, actually noted it on the call. He's from Swamico, Wisconsin. That's my hometown up in the Green Bay area. So
you really enjoyed calling that goal, right?
For sure, absolutely. So Quinn, I've been familiar with his game going back to high school and before his junior days. He played for the Junior Gamblers, USHL AAA program his freshman year, and then sophomore year he jumped into the USHL right away. So kind of COVID helped him transition into that and getting going and with Chicago Steel and the Madison Capitals. But really, since he's come to Madison, he's been one of the primary recruiting targets. That was one of the big guys of the Granato era, the previous coaching staff here. That was one of the big gets. And he's now with Mike Hastings, he's turned into effectively he kind of is what makes this Wisconsin team go round. Wisconsin had a 6-game losing streak going into that series against Notre Dame, and that coincided with a 6-game point drought for Quinn Finley. So he kind of drives the bus for this Wisconsin team offensively, that top line. When they're all clicking, things are working well. That also kind of coincided with there was a center injury on that line, so things kind of moved around. He actually bumped down to the second line for that series, but he was fruitful. He had the overtime goal. He had 2 points in both games, and yeah, he really is, for all intents and purposes, he is Wisconsin's best player in terms of trying to create offense.
From what you've seen of him at Wisconsin and what you're hearing from hockey people in the know, does he project as a top 6 or a bottom 6 player? Not that there's anything wrong with a bottom 6, but where do you think when it's all said and done and he winds up here on Long Island, does he wind up as a top 6 or a bottom 6 player?
It'll be interesting. I think he fits more into a top 6 role. I don't think I've ever really seen him in a bottom 6 role. So that will be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out. But I think for a guy like Quinn, I remember the jokes when he was drafted that he looked like he was 14 years old. That was kind of just not the knock on him, but he's a smaller player, but that's kind of the style of player that I think Mike Hastings, and you're starting to see around the Big Ten, of trying to find the finesse players that can kind of pull forth in this day and age. I think he'll probably try to be a top six guy, but yeah, I think for a guy like this, that's just kind of his MO of trying to be at the top of that group.
Is his game pro ready right now? Could he play in the AHL right now if the season was over and he signed his contract and he came to the professional ranks? Is he a guy right now, based on his experience in college now, could he transition very quickly into the pro game?
To be honest, I was surprised he came back for a third year at Wisconsin. That was kind of the one that people were waiting on going into his third year. Was it going to be portal, or was it going to be going up to the AHL ranks? But he did come back for another year. I would definitely keep an eye on that for once this season wraps up. I would not be surprised to see him make the jump to the professional game in short order.
And I would think that would start with the Islanders AHL team in Bridgeport. We're talking to Joey Bonadonna. He calls Wisconsin Badger hockey, and also he is part of the Indoor Football League broadcast team, as is myself, and we're going to talk about that in just a couple of minutes. There's one other prospect who was on the roster at Wisconsin, although his season unfortunately came to an end with an injury not long ago, and that is defenseman Zach Schultz, a sixth-round pick in 2023. And that was a vicious hit and terrible play that he wound up getting hurt on. But before the injury, how was he progressing? And is he another player that Islander fans should keep their eyes on here as we look towards the future?
Yeah, I would agree. We kind of just talked about it a little last night, and how this was a guy that Wisconsin really liked at the top of their D chart. He was consistently either starting or with that second pair. This is a guy that they really liked, and they've kind of had some injuries at the D corps over the last couple of years. Schultz has been a part of that. He's had some freak injuries over the last couple of years, and this one's probably the most pertinent. It was a pretty nasty injury that he had in the series at Notre Dame in South Bend to end the first half. But yeah, this is a guy that they trust a lot. This is a guy that has been through the junior ranks, did really well in leading up to his draft pick year. This is a player that they speak very highly of, and a player that your heart kind of breaks for the fact that he can't be on the ice, but he definitely seems like a guy that has a big impact on especially what goes on here at Wisconsin.
You know, college hockey, to a lot of people, around the country, it's not the biggest of deals to a lot of people, but for those people who have it in their market, it's huge. It's huge at Wisconsin, obviously. In Boston, there's Boston University and Boston College, and around the country there's places like Notre Dame, and in the Dakotas, college hockey is huge. And here in New York, especially here on Long Island, we just got a taste of Division I hockey a few years ago when Long Island University went Division I, and now there's a men's and women's college hockey team, and it's still trying to make its mark here. But for you as a broadcaster, it's got to be one of the coolest things ever to call these big-time college hockey games, because as much as people focus a lot when it comes to college sports on basketball and football and maybe even a little bit of baseball, college hockey is so cool, especially if you're in the right market for it.
I mean, here in Wisconsin, there's no NHL team. So there are a lot of people in the state of Wisconsin. They're not Blackhawks fans. They're not Wild fans. They're not Red Wing fans. They're Wisconsin Badger fans. So this is hockey for them. So I definitely feel that energy. Some of my best friends here, that they're kind of that yoke. That's not, they're not really Blackhawks, Wild, what have you. It is the Wisconsin hockey team. And there's a lot of culture here. And Mark Johnson, obviously, you're talking about the 1980 team, and United States hockey, obviously more on the women's side, but to be able to bring that culture, the Johnson family of Wisconsin hockey, it's synonymous not with just with Wisconsin hockey, college hockey, United States hockey. A lot of it is very, very centered here in Madison.
Now, one thing that is for sure when it comes to Wisconsin, even though there's no NHL team, there is a lot of professional football in Wisconsin, and of course it's the Green Bay Packers predominantly, but there's also a good number of people who are fans of the Green Bay Blizzard of the Indoor Football League, which you are the play-by-play voice of. And this coming season, 2026, you were part of the IFL broadcast team, and I'm going into my first year as a play-by-play guy in the IFL. How cool has it been for you to be the voice of the Blizzard, and how excited are you for the 2026 season?
I'm absolutely thrilled. I mean, this is a sport that kind of brought me up through broadcasting. I got my start with it. I was doing color commentary, and then COVID happened, and then right after that, I kind of jumped into the play-by-play side. But this is a sport that I've loved. It's a great introduction of just trying to get the cadence of broadcasting just on that side. But it is a fun sport. There's just a little bit of everything in an indoor football game, and I've absolutely loved it. To be able to have a front row seat with the Blizzard for the last several years. Corey Roberson, his first year as the full-time head coach was my first year on the broadcast, so I've kind of got to see his growth, and it's a very developmental program, and you're seeing that growth, especially over the last couple of years of getting to the Eastern Conference Championship, to the National Championship last year, and it's kind of going to be the same thing here again in 26. That it's going to be developmental, developing rookies. You have that core group of some really good veterans, but it really is trying to build a program, and that's what Corey Roberson's done over the last several years.
And the Indoor Football League as a whole has just blossomed in recent years, and now this year, all 119 games are going to be on some form of national broadcast or streaming service, and I'm excited to be a part of it this year. You've been a part of it. When you think about how this league, and it's been around for a long time, since 2009, but really in the last few years it has really blossomed into the major league of indoor football. When you see the progress this league has, how cool is it for you to be a part of a league and a sport like this that it continues to grow by leaps and bounds?
I mean, really, you can date it back to COVID. That's when it really kind of turned around. I remember the years leading up to it, there were like 5-6 teams in the league, and now you're starting to see some really steady growth in some really, really fun markets. The growth out on the West Coast. You're seeing the development of what's going on in the Midwest and starting to develop in the Southeast as well. But yeah, it is really fun to see the growth. There's people that you've known since day one, and then you keep welcoming in some new faces. And obviously, Peter, getting to know you here, this is going to be another one here, getting to know some new people, some great people to get to tell the story of the Indoor Football League. Can't wait to get that started soon.
Well, Joey, I have told anybody who would listen to me that the best job I've ever had in sports, and it's not even close, was the 8 years that I spent with the New York Dragons and the original Arena Football League. So for me to be back involved with this, my first game, unless something changes, IFL president Jared Widman, he's working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on schedules and all kinds of other business matters. But unless something changes, my first game is going to be in Orlando on April 5th, Quad City, against the Orlando Pirates, who are moving from Massachusetts. But we're actually going to get a chance to meet in person, because my understanding is that you're going to be coming to New Jersey for the IFL Cup, which is May 18th and May 24th at the American Dream there in New Jersey, where it's going to be a great in-season tournament. I'm going to be the PA announcer for those 4 games. And for the league now to add another tentpole event like that is going to be off the hooks, and to bring the sport back to the area for those 2 weekends is going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. You got some really good teams, some new faces to the league, some veteran players, and some veteran brands. It's going to be a really fun opportunity to see those teams square off that week in New Jersey. And yeah, that's in the plans. I'll definitely get the opportunity to see you there at the American Dream in Jersey.
And here's the best part of the whole thing. That complex, that entertainment complex, they don't like it when you call it the mall. It is a mall, but there's more to it than just being a mall. The games are going to take place where the hockey rink is, right there in the middle of the complex. But here's the great thing about that place. There's a lot of really good restaurants, and I think it's very important for you and I to make sure that Jared Widman gets that credit card out, because we're going to
that locked in.
We're going to eat well those 2 weekends.
Absolutely, yeah. Looking forward to it, Jared. And
I know he's watching. I know he's watching, so he's sweating it out right now that I just brought that up. But I wanted to thank you so much for coming on the show for a little bit. Please take good care of those Islander prospects there in Wisconsin, because we're going to need them here on Long Island in a year or two. So it was great to have you on the program, and see you in New Jersey in May.
Absolutely, Peter. Can't wait.
Outstanding. Joey Bonadonna, IFL broadcaster and also broadcaster for the University of Wisconsin, joining us here on the show. And again, I am very, very excited to become a broadcaster in the IFL this coming season. It's a great sport and great to be involved with that league. It is time for the Coach's Collectibles item of the week. It's this Brian Trottier autographed Islanders jersey. Coach's Collectibles, your number one source for 100% authentic sports memorabilia and live public autograph events. Check them out online at www.coachescollectiblesny.com and use code SPORTSBASH for free shipping on all orders. As you can see, I am wearing my American Soccer Club New York sweatshirt today, and it's been a big couple of days for the Fighting Tomcats. Yesterday, we announced that, and for those who don't know, I am the communications coordinator, and I'll be the public address announcer when the season starts in May for American Soccer Club New York. But yesterday, we announced that Mitchell Athletic Complex in Uniondale will be our primary home venue. And again, the season starts in May. We will have another home venue or two for some one-off games that we'll be announcing at some point in the future. But Mitchell Athletic Complex has been the home of so many wonderful soccer matches over the years. Back in the day, the Long Island Rough Riders, before Major League Soccer started, the Long Island Rough Riders, who were also run by Jim Kilmeade, who runs American Soccer Club, won a national championship in the USISL. The Cosmos played there in 2019 in the NPSL, which the Fighting Tomcats are in now. So it's a great venue for soccer and a historic venue on Long Island for the most popular sport in the world. So we're looking forward to that. And then today we announced that the Embassy Diner, a great sponsor of Sportsbash, and boy, Gus, is there a more patriotic diner in the world than the Embassy Diner? And Gus is all about community. We announced today that Embassy Diner is going to be the official diner of American Soccer Club New York. They're going to be all over our home games, signage, activations, and they're going to be feeding the players and the coaches after the game. So it's going to be a wonderful partnership between American Soccer Club New York and the Embassy Diner. So Gus, we gave him, you saw in the picture there, the scarf, the official American Soccer Club scarf. He's all happy about that. We gave him a few because he had to bring some home to his family, but we're very, very happy to have Embassy Diner not only continued here with Sports Bash, but also with American Soccer Club of New York. Next week on Sports Bash, a lot of hoops and hockey talk. We do anticipate talking to Michael Bradley, the new head coach of the New York Red Bulls. We don't know if that'll be on Tuesday or Thursday. One of those 2 days we'll be joined by Michael Bradley here on the show. And don't worry about this, Tony, because I didn't send it to you. I'm just saying it. On Tuesday's show, we are going to talk NBA with Dave Shepard from SiriusXM NBA Radio, who I worked with, back years ago when I worked at Sirius. We worked together, but we also worked together at CBS Sports Radio and Infinity Sports Network. He's been on the show before. So as we head down the home stretch of the NBA season, we're going to have Shep on the show on Tuesday to talk a little NBA with us. And then Tuesday, March 10th, so a week from this Tuesday, we'll be joined by MSG Network's Isles host and reporter Shannon Hogan, who is coming back from vacation, getting ready to get back to work as the Islanders are back in action next week. The Islanders have already returned to practice. They did so the other day. And I believe they have an open practice for season ticket holders tomorrow. That should be a lot of fun to go to see, but the Islanders will be back in action for their schedule starting next week, and we'll have Shannon on the show on March 10th. And that will do it for this edition of Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com and the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund. Thanks to my guests Tom Rock and Joey Bonadonna. Thanks to our social media coordinator, Leanne Burgess. And thanks to Tony Walker and everyone at Governors. Sports Bash is sponsored by the Embassy Diner in Bethpage, by Coach's Collectibles, and by the Marty Lyons Foundation. For our entire crew, I'm Peter Schwartz. Thanks for watching, and thanks for listening. We will be back on Tuesday with another Sports Bash at 1 o'clock. Have a great weekend, everyone.